K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and you're watching another episode of Tuesday Night Mania. Let me introduce to you the group we have with us tonight, along with our special guest. So tonight, we'll go ahead and we'll start out with, well, that man that we call Mr. Big B. How's it going tonight, my man?
Hey, doing good. You know, just ready to talk wrestling, ready to get to know our special guest and hear how he got to where he's at.
All right, and then let's welcome in, of course, that man from TRC, Mr. William Hudson. How's it going tonight, my man?
Going great, man. How's everybody doing? Really looking forward to another great week of Tuesday Night Mania. Literally just got done like 10 minutes ago with a Fast and Furious live sale in Top Rope Collectibles. So had some great stuff going on over there, and just happy to be here with you guys, and really looking forward to talking to our guests tonight.
All right, and then, of course, welcome in none other than Joe Coots. How's it going tonight?
I'm doing good, guys. How you guys doing? Catching up on some NXT right now, finishing up this match that's got going on. But other than that, I joined Will just a little while ago. He took all my money again, and so I'm gonna try to
not
get
in
some
a
of
poker game.
No. I buy those little action figure dolls, that they have out there. So I'm gonna try to get a little bit of it back tonight in the podcast.
All
right, and then of course, welcome in our special guest, Lloyd Anawani. How's it going tonight, my man?
Good. How you fellas doing?
Doing great.
Fantastic.
Great.
We can't wait to dive into asking you some questions, man. So if you don't mind, we're gonna start off with a nice little interview.
Sounds good.
All right, Big B, did you have a question for Lloyd?
When did you, growing up in the family that you did, when did you decide you wanted to go down the road as the rest of your family and become a wrestler?
It's funny because a lot of people ask me this, and it was actually just natural, from my dad and my uncle, getting into professional wrestling. And it was funny because when I was younger, I was always wanting to be a law enforcement police officer. And then once I seen my dad, bringing home those big checks from wrestling, I started getting more involved in it. And training wise, a lot of people ask me, well, did you have to train hard? Yes, but it was kind of natural. And no, because if we messed up, my dad would beat the crap out of us and get not physically, but mentally to get us to get more involved in the wrestling and then respect the business.
Okay.
Hey, can we give him a second to introduce himself to everybody and talk a little bit about his current status with his belt?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, my name is Lloyd Anawai. I am part of the Samoan Dynasty. I've been wrestling for 35 years. I've wrestled with WWE when it was WWF and also WWE. I worked with ECW, and I traveled all around the world. Currently, I am holding the heavyweight championship belt out of Qatar Pro Wrestling in Qatar in the Middle East, and just continue working with Top Rope collectibles, and enjoy, knowing what I do. 35 years is a long time, but if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then you need to get out of it. But I'm still having fun, and I'm going to continue doing it until that time comes.
And a great friend of mine, a great friend of TRC, a great family man. Just overall, just a great all-around guy. When he walks in the room, he commands respect as he walks in the room, and people really light up when they see him. They talk to him. They absolutely love the guy, and I can say we do too here in Top Rope Collectibles. And I think you guys will really enjoy getting to know him a little bit. So I think extremely highly of Mr. L.A. Smooth. I don't think, as a matter of fact, every time I've ever talked to him, I don't think I've ever called him by his name. I think I have always referred to him as L.A. or L.A. Smooth since I met him.
Right.
And, I just, it's super cool because growing up being a fan, as diehard as I think pretty much all of us are in this room right now, and then being able to sit down at dinner or hang out with LA, or it's a huge thing. And just sitting and listening to the road stories and stuff like that, man, it's a dream come true. And if I could go back and tell myself, my 12-year-old self, hey, look, this is going to even become a possibility someday, I would never believe it. So I am absolutely super proud to have him on here, and just can't thank you enough for joining. And guys, let's let him, kind of discuss his stuff real quick. And we got to get on with our show too, but I wanted to make sure we got him on here, and a couple quick questions and we'll move forward.
All right.
I appreciate that, Will. I appreciate it a lot. That's a lot coming from you and everybody else, and I look forward to continue working with you guys, and I enjoy working with you guys. You guys are top notch, and I can't say anything else about it. And for me to say family is something that means a lot, and you guys are truly family, and I just want you to know that.
Absolutely, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, Joe, did you have a question?
I might just save my questions for the end, but I mean, as I tell all the wrestlers I come across that are even good friends of mine in the business and stuff like that, I say thank you from the bottom of my heart as a fan. Whether we cheered you or booed you, it's been an honor and a privilege to watch you guys. Thank you for sacrificing your time, and it's something that you didn't have to. I mean, you guys have went through missing holidays and birthdays and weddings and anniversaries and just different things that a part of your life. I mean, the sacrifices that you guys have gone through of your own physicalities of your bodies just to entertain us from the bottom of my heart. I just want to say thank you for all that.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And I can speak for myself and speak for my family members. We look forward to entertaining and being there for the people, because you're not just doing something that you love, but you're making somebody happy, because whether you got 4 or 5 people in the crowd just coming there for you, you're making their day. So it doesn't matter how many people or how many less people are there. You're gonna go out there entertain. You're gonna go out there entertain for everybody, and it means a lot to people that really come out there to see you. And I just love doing it. I love to see smiles on people's face, even if they hate me. If they hate me, that means I'm doing my job great.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Which is actually the question that I had, is when you're in the ring, do you prefer to be a face or do you prefer to be a heel?
It preferably doesn't matter. I mean, but for my perspective, I'd rather be heel, because you can do so much more. And I came in the business as a heel, so I mean that's something that I cherish. I love being a heel.
All right. So I think if anybody else has any questions, we'll kind of wait till we get towards the end. So we'll definitely move on now. So why don't we just go ahead and jump straight into the whole Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes situations that we see. So why don't we go ahead and jump into that? So with that, I'll start out with Lloyd on this, since he's our special guest. I'll go ahead and ask him his thoughts. So what's your thoughts on Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes leaving AEW? Do you actually see, there's a lot of speculation that this is a work, but then there's other speculation saying no, that he's actually in talks with WWE. So what do you see with this?
It's kind of hard, because when Cody left, he wasn't a fan of Vince McMahon. I mean, nobody is once they leave the company, and I don't think Vince was a fan of his. But Vince, again, is a businessman, and he'll do what he needs to do in order to do business right. And if it's a straight shoot legit that they would in the talks with going back to WWE, I don't know if he would be in the right position, because I know Vince would probably use him as a puppet, and eventually, my opinion, I think Vince would probably use him, and then after he's done getting what he wants out of him, he would just be right on the bottom of the totem pole, just to show him that, hey, I'm in charge. You can do what you want, but I'm going to show you that I'm in charge. And I think Cody knows that. So that's it's kind of tough to say if he's going to go back. He's not stupid. I mean, his dad was very smart, worked for, Vince for many years, and I can, if I was Cody, I would look at all aspects of it and say, is this a right move for me and my wife, or is it just going to be right for the beginning, and what's going to pan out to the end? What's in the future for me going back? And that's something he really has to think about.
Yeah, I think when it comes to it, in the end, sometimes money talks. So I guess, maybe if somebody's offered the right amount of money, maybe they'll take it. Joe, what is your thoughts on the situation with Cody and Brandy?
Well, when I was at work today and I seen it, I kind of thought it was like anything else that we see on Facebook or on social media half the time. It's just a bunch of BS stuff that somebody just has nothing else better to do today but start posting stuff. But then as I started to look more and more and seeing that it was coming out, I was kind of shocked in a bit. I mean, we've all been talking about AEW's big roster that they have. I mean, they have such a big roster that eventually, at some point in time, that roster's got to get cut down a little bit. Contracts are going to expire. But with this one here, Cody is really the biggest guy out of this whole thing right now that is going to either resign with Tony, or he's going to make that jump to go to WWE or Ring of Honor when it restarts, or Impact Wrestling and or New Japan. And like Smooth says, Cody's a businessman. Bottom line, he's grown so much since he's left the WWE that I think that if he does go back to the WWE, it's going to have to be under something that he obviously has to agree to, and be able to work together with Vince. And people are saying, well, if he goes back to WWE, Vince is going to want to know what's going on in AEW. I don't think Cody would be that way, just because I feel that he's a stand-up guy. What happens in AEW stays in AEW. What happens in WWE stays in WWE type thing. But I wish him and Brandy the best. I'm kind of interested to see what happens now, where this thing goes, and how the story plays out all around, because I'm sure that there's more to it, because we've been hearing that there's been disgruntled between Cody and the Bucks and all the VPs as of late, and now they're kind of saying that this has been going on for a little over a year now. So if Cody was really done with AEW and didn't like what they were doing, he would never have left the way that he did, and he was working on a handshake deal since December. So hats off to him. If he went out, that's the proper way to go out, finish up a storyline, put the championship on somebody else, and move on.
All right. Will?
I don't know. I don't want to be the jerk of the room, but honestly, I don't care what Cody Rhodes does. I never was a fan.
Ooh, that MJF, man. God dang, Will's MJF.
I just never was a fan of the guy. It doesn't matter to me what he does. I think he's a mid-carder. I'm sure he's a great person in real life, but from a fan standpoint, doesn't matter to me. He's not going to make me tune in to WWE. He's not going to make me tune into AEW. I mean, there's just nothing about what he brings to the ring that excites me. So I would say I'm opinionless. Whatever he does, and it's not going to affect me either way. I won't be buying any tickets to see Cody Rhodes.
Ooh. God, right. He's evil tonight.
Yeah, he is. And we even have a comment here from Stan Grubb that says, "Damn, you called a mid card, man."
Yeah, I just never have been a fan of the guy. I mean, I watched him in person years ago wrestling with that plastic.
I was gonna say, when I seen him wrestle was when him and Ray were in Tampa for Extreme Rules that night.
Yeah, I was there.
All right, Big B, your thoughts?
I mean, and I gotta agree with Stan's first comment. I mean, Cody's departure just set the internet on fire. Big curveball to me. I mean, yeah, we knew he was working on a handshake deal, but being that he started AEW, was in the front office, and now he's walking away wherever he goes. I kind of agree with Will a little bit. I mean, not that I wasn't a big fan of his, but I don't think he's going to drive me to watch Impact, New Japan, wherever he goes. I mean, he shows up on WWE, I'll still watch. If he shows back on AEW, I'll still watch. Impact, I'll watch. But yeah, I'm kind of intrigued to see what happens with him because he has grown. He has grown on me from his WWE days into AEW days. So part of me is like, well, I don't care, but part of me is like, well, I kind of want to see what happens, where it goes. Is it a work? Is it, is AEW going to try to pull something on us here? But I'm semi intrigued to see where he goes and how it pans out.
You gonna
Yeah.
watch him on 205?
No, wherever.
Yeah, there's people out there who are saying that this is 1000% of work, and they're saying it because they're like, he's having a tough time getting a pop from the crowd. So they're like, to him, what would be a better way of getting a pop from the crowd than being like, oh, I'm leaving AEW, and then he signs a new deal and he comes back and then he gets this giant pop. So, but I don't know if he would get that giant pop. I don't. Yeah, that's what they're saying. That he wants a giant pop. And I'm like, Cody Rhodes isn't that guy who would get that giant pop.
No, because if you remember, like last year when they started talking about when fans were booing him and Cody was like pulling a John Cena a little bit, saying that he wasn't going to turn heel, and he said that going into this year there was a lot of twists and turns to his character that we haven't seen yet. That we were going to see a little bit of all these different sides to him that he thought was going to be really cool when it came across TV. So maybe this is one of those. But fans are starting to hate him because I just think that he was kind of being pushed down their throat a little bit.
If you don't mind, if I can say, let's go back to what Willie said. He's not a big fan of Cody. Right now, Cody has basically done everything he could. And if you've been watching his matches, you can see he's been doing hardcore matches and everything. That's not heavyweight championship material. If you're going to be a heavyweight champion in this business, you got to go out there and you got to get the people behind you. He's not going to be able to do that anymore. He hasn't been able to get them 100%. I like Cody. I'm not saying anything bad about him, but he knows it for himself. He either one of them, him and Dustin, and me and Dustin go way back. I mean, I could tell you some stories about Dustin that, we had great times, but they would never be able to follow in their dad's footsteps. I'm sorry. I that's just the way I'm going to put it. Because, Dusty he can draw. I remember years ago when down south, when him and Junkyard Dog and Dick Murdoch would wrestle against my dad and my uncle. And I mean, the building would be sold out. And the psychology of the business, that's what Cody does not have. People don't believe in the psychology of the wrestling business, but that's what we're lacking right now in our business. We're lacking psychology. There is no psychology anymore. Nothing makes sense. Everybody wants to go out there and do a high spot here, high spot there. That's not going to make you money. I'm old school and I'll stay old school. And, Cody has went out of his comfort zone and doing all this other stuff, these high flying moves and all that. And that's not going to draw money for him. I don't see it drawing at all for him.
Okay.
And I'll add to what Smooth just said. I was watching Pat McAfee yesterday, and Brock Lesnar was on there, and Brock said the same thing when he got in the business. You would walk down the hallway, and there's The Rock, there's Austin, there's Undertaker. Those guys commanded respect. They were honing their crafts, and he goes, now the problem is all these young kids. Nobody wants to step up. Everybody wants to talk about how many super kicks they're going to do, how many high spots they're going to do. They're not thinking about the business side of it, the psychology, how many butts they need to put in the seats to make the money. And he says the business is all about making the money. But these guys nowadays all want to go out there and do these flips and all these high flying spots and not put a match together. They just want to get their spots in, and that's it.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that 100%.
Will, you want to say something?
Yeah, I know LA may not be able to stay on with us. I'm not sure. He may have something he has to go do, but I wanted to ask a trade secret just real quick. It's something that I asked another wrestler not too long ago, and I just wanted to hear LA's opinion on this. when you're in a battle royal and there's a determined winner, obviously, of the battle royal, and say somebody is, say number one, number two, number three come in, how do they know who they're supposed to eliminate, and how do they know when in the match they're supposed to eliminate them?
Oh, good question.
Oh, wow, great question. I always wondered that myself.
Things don't happen to go the way they do in battle royals. Let me say that first of all. I've been plenty of battle royals where you know what number you go out, and if they know who they want over in this battle royal, then you got to pick and choose your spots to all right, am I going to get out now or whatever the case may be. But you should know when it's time for you to go out, but it doesn't happen that way. For example, look at the Royal Rumble. The whole thing was all messed up. And you can see that a lot of guys were supposed to stay in longer than what they were supposed to, but they ended up going out, and that's a lack of communication. So it happens. It goes that way. Nothing's going to go the right way, and you just got to put your mind to it and put things together and make sure things make sense for you to get over the top rope or get out of the battle royal or whatever the case may be to make it look right. There's been times where I was supposed to follow somebody else out of the battle royal, and it didn't go that way. So I got to put my mind together to say, okay, what are we going to do to get a little pop out of these people at the same time for me to get out of here and let the show go on.
Great. Thank you.
I-
I always wanted to ask that. And so I asked that back in November. I asked Chris about that. And I asked him, I said, in 94, you had this feud with Lex starting at SummerSlam and going on. And at the Royal Rumble 94, most people didn't catch on to this. But almost as soon as Tatanka or Chris got into the ring in that match, him and Lex had this big blowout where they're throwing haymakers at each other, And I asked him, I said, was that planned right there that far in advance for you guys to have that feud later in the year? And he said that he didn't remember it being planned, but he thought it would be a good spot for the match. And then, later on, 6 months later, that's kind of like one of the big feuds of the year in 94. So I always wondered about that. So great answer. And thank you for answering me. And again, I know if you have to go, just let me know. You can get up anytime you want, or you're more than welcome to stay on with us. But I really appreciate you being here with us.
Yeah.
I
I
have a
appreciate
question.
you guys. Got nothing really to do, but I do have to try to get my son to finish his homework, and that way, because he does homeschooling, and make sure he has it ready for tomorrow. But I would love to do this again, and if anything I can do for any of you, please let Willie know. And I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and you guys continue doing what you're doing. Bless you and all your families.
So, thank you. So, I was just. Do you mind if I ask you one quick question?
Sure.
All right. It's a common question that I like to ask, and I think Big B probably knows what's coming. I ask all of our guests, who's your Mount Rushmore?
Right now, as it stands for the wrestling business,
Yeah.
Or your Mount Rushmore in general.
Yeah. That's fine.
To be honest, I'm old school, so I like the new age era. My Mount Rushmore would probably be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's
I
tough.
would say cousin. Yeah, it is the Rock. I mean, and the reason why I'm saying that is because during that time, wrestling was wrestling, and you can't take that away from them. They put asses in seats.
Yep.
And along with Bret Hart. I love Bret Hart, and I love his wrestling style. He's always been great. We were raised up with the Hart 2 years ago, and when my dad went to Canada. So I would say I would put definitely Stone Cold and Dwayne and Bret Hart.
Definitely.
I love that he's old school, because that's exactly the way I am. I love
I love old school.
You go out there and you hit somebody, and as fans, people know. Sometimes there is potato shots, but sometimes those shots that are, you just tell a shot and you swear to God you thought it was real, and they barely touched the guy, but you made it look and sound and feel real. And nowadays you could see so many missed spots, and when a guy gets busted open, you can tell when they're going to do it. Back in the day, you couldn't really see when a guy, you guys covered it up so good, and that's what I miss is about that realism to it. Nowadays, there's too many kicks with slapping in the side of their legs and things like that, and it's just that old school is what made me a fan.
You mean the super kick is just a kick now?
Oh my gosh! When Shawn Michaels hit it, you knew that you were getting pinned. Now, when you get hit with a super kick, you know you got 30 more minutes of a wrestling match going on because it ain't getting over with.
Let me make one last comment, and then I know LA's got to go. Let me make one last comment. If you guys want to see a real super kick, and this isn't just because LA's on here, because you guys already know how I feel about this guy, go back and watch WrestleMania 9 with Yokozuna super kicking Bret Hart in the face.
Oh, I thought he was going to take his face off.
Yokozuna is a humongous superstar and could throw a kick like these young bucks can.
Yeah.
So that's talent right there. You guys know I'm a huge fan. Yeah. Also, too, if you check out the Icons edition of Yokozuna on WWE Network or Peacock, you'll see LA Smooth on there because that was his cousin. Yokozuna was his cousin. So, of course, still is his cousin, but he's in the documentary as well. So check that out, guys. LA, thank you. Thank you for everything. Really appreciate it. Have a great night, buddy.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. There another question? I heard somebody say, "Wait."
I did, but I don't know how to ask it because it'd be like if you and I were having a match. Obviously, I'm gonna let you win. It's just okay. Let's just get the agents out of the way. You and I are going 30 minutes, man, and I'm not even sure if I can go that long right now. How do you remember like everything from the start to finish? I mean, obviously you guys got song and dance, but how hard is it to remember everything that you're going to do in that thing? How do you even come up with that psychology? I guess
you just said it's psychology. I mean, you can't. I don't go out there and have everything planned. I go on to what the crowd wants and play by ear, and that's when you know that you can. You're that you can go out there and do what you need to do and be one of the best because years ago when, for example, I'll tell you a real short story. And when I wrestled in Puerto Rico, where separate locker rooms, and Puerto Rico's really, kayfabe about everything. And you had your baby faces in one locker room, you had your heels in another one. And the only thing you had was the referee going telling you when you were on and what number match you were on and what they wanted, the office of what type of finish they wanted. So you had to go out there and start your match, and you had to know how to start your match and end up in the finish. And it didn't, if you had to go 10, 20 minutes, you had to have all that psychology to go out there and make a match. And that's what makes you good. If you can go out there and do that and still have the people in the palm of your hand, kudos to you. And that's a great worker. And right now, a lot of these guys in this business, they could not do that. I guarantee you, I can put tons of guys in there and go over there and tell them, all right, this is what you need to do for a finish. Go out there and do a match. They could not do it and have the people behind them because you know why? They're so used to calling all these spots and knowing everything in advance. That's not the business. The business wasn't made that way.
Oh, thank you very much. Because I know like basic wrestling matches, you start with everybody usually does a lock up and it goes into a side headlock, and then from there be like, okay, what are we going to do next? Okay, I'm gonna bounce you off the rope. You're probably gonna duck clothesline and come off of me, type things like that. So that's what you kind of see on TV. I was just kind of wondering if that's what they do nowadays, or you just kind of fill it out. But thank you for answering that.
They get lost. They'd be lost if they had to go out there and follow them.
What do you mean I can't throw 6 super kicks in a row? Come on.
Well, we definitely appreciate it, LA Smooth. We definitely appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And like I said, let's do it again. And like I said, if anything, feel free to get in contact with Willie. Willie, we talk, on a basis, almost every other day or whatever. And I always look forward to working with him, and anything I could do, just holler at him and let's do it again.
I know.
Yeah,
I
all
tell
right.
Will all
All
the
right.
time, I want to meet you, man. So I'm glad I got this far with you.
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
I
I
appreciate it,
enjoyed it.
Will. Honestly, though, Will, thank you for
Thank
allowing
you.
this to happen for us. And
Absolutely.
Smooth, thank you for coming on, because I told Will all the time, him and I talk, we buy stuff, as you probably know, Target parking lots.
Hey,
And
you never know. You never know what's gonna happen. You may meet me in a month or two. You never know.
if
So
you hop
let's
out of a
keep working
Target
on that.
parking lot out of his pickup truck, dude, I'm probably gonna be like, oh my God, wow. Here, Will, here's some extra money for you for just doing that. Thanks.
All right, fellas. Well, you guys have a blessed night, and thank you guys again.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you very
thank you.
much. You have a great night.
Yep, you too.
All right.
I tell you what, Will, I would love, and I think we can all probably say this, sit down and just talk to this guy. I think he would be such just great conversation piece to have, just
I agree.
stories and
I
Just
agree.
to hear
things
the
like
road
that.
stories is what I want to hear.
Yeah,
That's
I agree. I told you
No.
guys, I
I don't know if I'll pick up all the dinner bill, but I'll pick up part of it.
I
I'd
think
pick up some of it.
I
Yeah.
think our viewers would love a special edition Tuesday Night Mania of Road Stories with LA Smooth and just a long discussion with LA Smooth. I think
Oh, yeah.
our viewers would
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I got to
think
go
our-
back and look at some of his early stuff, because I was looking at on Wikipedia. I know him from ECW. I didn't realize that he was in the early days of WWE
No, I didn't either.
and things like that. And I got to go back and look in the Icon thing,
Yeah.
because I might have missed that part with him being in the Yokozuna documentary.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love to hear those stories, because we hear all about like ECW and things like that. And I'm sure that he's got some crazy stories that.
He does.
And Ace, when we had a couple other wrestlers on, for me, listening to their journey and hanging out with other wrestlers and going through Taco Bell and picking up this person, that person, picking up the best. So that's the stories I want to hear. I mean, I've seen you in action. I want to hear what goes on outside of the ring, with some of the guys I grew up watching, because we know they're all friends. Some of them, yeah, probably are enemies, but I just want to hear what it was like to be on the road with these guys.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. So how about
Especially him being old school like that.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, they're going out pounding on each other a
Oh.
little bit, and then
Oh,
afterwards
yeah.
they're pounding down a couple drinks together. But
Yep.
for that 15 minutes, man, he's making that person bleed a little bit. So
Yep.
those are some great stories. But again, Will, thank you for
Yes, thank you, Will.
Absolutely.
thank you for that.
all right, so we can go ahead and jump into our next topic, which is going to be we'll just jump right into historical moments now since we're getting
Okay.
there. So
Yeah.
we'll jump into historical moments. Super Brawl 5. We have the big one, Hogan and Vader. So Will, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Oh man, Super Bowl 5, February of 1995. Man, I'll tell you, what a time to be a wrestling fan. So, you had Vader. He ends up beating the Boss Man. He ends up beating Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Becomes a U.S. champion towards the end of 94 in WCW. Back then, if you were the U.S. champion, you were automatically considered to be the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. Hogan was WCW champion for about 6 months at that point, maybe about 5 months at that point. And they have Vader come out at Starrcade 1994, the very end of it. Hogan successful over Brutus the Beefcake, in the main event. And he's in the back. Vader comes, challenges him at Starrcade 94 at the very end of the pay-per-view. Really, really cool. It's so real. It's so realistic. Then, you have Clash of the Champions in January of 1995. Vader comes out, power bombs Hogan. It scares the whole wrestling world because they're like, oh my gosh, Hogan just came to WCW and now he's already facing Vader as a challenger. Vader's going to take this belt from him. And it was extremely believable that Vader was going to take the title from him. So then you get the Super Brawl. You had some other great matches on there. You had the Macho Man and Sting against the Big Boss Man and Earthquake, who went by other names at that time. One went by Avalanche and one went by Big Bubba Rogers.
Yep.
So, that was some cool stuff. But, you think about the card itself was just awesome. Go back and look at that card. Go back and watch that Super Brawl February 1995, Hogan and Vader. It was a big fight feel for back then. I mean, literally today, if you could have that main event today, Hogan versus Vader in 2022 would still be a big fight feel match. That's how powerful it was. So, of course, they have the match. Awesome match, really great. They end up having a feud, next couple months. They have a feud uncensored. They have a feud all the way up until Bash at the Beach. But in my opinion, the only thing that should have been done different is it was so believable that Vader was going to take the belt off Hogan. I think at Super Brawl 1995, they should have had Vader take the belt off of Hogan and then had Hogan chase him the next couple months for the belt. Maybe get it back at either, Slamboree, or maybe get it back at Bash at the Beach or Great American Bash, whatever it may have been. I think it would have made for a much better lineup. But instead, they had like 5 or 6 more matches of Hogan and Vader where Vader never goes over Hogan. And ultimately, it leads to Vader turning into a face, which, in my knowledge, is the first time ever. At that point, Vader was a face. He had always been a heel. He had always been a monster heel, where, his whole shtick was beating guys down and hurting them. And, you didn't want to face Vader. And he turned into a face at that point and was going into team with Hogan in Fall Brawl of 95. And instead of doing that, he ends up getting hurt. He gets released and then signs with WWF in 1996. Comes out as an entrant in the 96 Royal Rumble. So, kind of a rough ending to the year for Vader of what should have started out as his marquee year. He should have been the champion. Would have seen a major difference with Hogan chasing Vader for that belt. But it didn't happen, and that's a historical moment. And, those are some great things. I highly recommend everybody in this room and anybody listening to us at any point, go watch that Super Brawl. It's Super Brawl 5, February of 95. It's on Peacock. Outstanding event.
All right, Joe, anything to add?
Yeah, Vader got hurt because Paul Orndorff knocked him out in the back. That's the truth of the matter on that bad boy. The Vader Hogan storyline was an interesting one because I've listened to the podcast and everybody says Hogan didn't want to work with Vader. But Bischoff said Hogan did want to work with Vader, but he was a little worried about working with Vader because of the brutality of what Vader has done in the past and what he was continuously doing. So Hogan was super worried about that because Vader obviously is a big, strong man, but I don't think he even realized his own strength at times. And he worked a lot stiffer. So Hogan obviously liked to work with a lot of his buddies, which is what we've seen in the early part of WCW there with Brutus and Macho and the Dungeon of Doom and things like that. Those are all Hogan's buddies from the 80s that he was in 90s that he was very comfortable with.
Right.
So when the Vader Hogan storyline came along, it was a truly almost like an 80s, 90s all over again. Hogan needed a major heel like he has in the past to feed off of, like a King Kong Bundy and those guys. And Vader was the perfect match for that. And I agree with Will. Hogan was kind of starting to run a little stale at that moment. Hulkamania was dying down a little bit in WCW, and they were getting tired of the same thing. And Vader should have won that. Then it would have gave Hogan a fresh start again. It probably would have rejuvenated the fans behind him again, making that run. Because when Hogan came into WCW, he was really hot, and that's exactly what they needed. So that was a failed experiment there. And then, after that, they fought again. What, at Bash at the Beach it was?
Yes.
And the chemistry just wasn't there in that match as well. And then, like Will says, they went on to start that team, and then Vader had an altercation in the back at a Saturday night taping with Orndorff after Orndorff told him he needed to get ready to do some interviews. And backstory on that was Vader was coming off of doing some media earlier in the day. He was a little tired, hungry, they say, grouchy, whatever. Vader could be a little moody. Norndorf was the agent saying, "Come on, let's go," and it didn't quite work out too well for Vader that night. Orndorff took him down in a pair of water shoes in the shower.
Ooh.
So that tells you how tough Orndorff is if he can take a man like Vader down with no problem. So
Absolutely.
unfortunately for Vader, that was kind of the end of his WCW run. And we know what happened in WWE. And WWE just did not know how to use Vader, unfortunately. And that's the biggest shame, because it's always like, what could have been if things would have went different for Vader.
All right, Big B, I'll go to you. Do you have anything to add?
I mean, it's hard to top Will because he brings out all the facts, which is good. I mean, yeah, I think WCW messed up and not letting Vader take the title from Hogan. As much as a Hulkamania fan I was back then, I actually kind of liked Vader too back then, because I mean he was a big guy that could move. I mean,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed that. And yeah, I think Joe's right. Hulkamania was dying out a little bit. It should have dropped the belt. Maybe Hogan disappears for a little bit, then comes back and rejuvenates Hulkamania and gets the belt back. And did they during the feud? Did they not tie in episodes of Vader showing up on Hogan's TV show too to kind of
Yeah.
enhance the?
Yes.
They did Baywatch.
Yeah.
It wasn't Baywatch. It was
No,
No,
they
they
did.
did.
They did
They
Baywatch.
did it on Baywatch. It
Yeah.
was Baywatch.
It was
Thunder in
Baywatch.
Paradise at that point was over with.
Yeah, you're right. It was Baywatch. You are right with Joe. So, but no, I agree with everything Will and Joe said, and yeah, I think they lost an opportunity. And of course, going to WWF, at the time they didn't know what to do with the big guy like Vader. So I think Vader was ahead of his time. If Vader was now in WWE, I think they use him a little bit better. I don't think it much better, but I think he would have got used a little differently.
Well, because he was supposed to be WWE champion at SummerSlam, and Shawn overturned it that year.
Yep.
All right. So, I think we can get into the topic that people are waiting. Well, maybe not waiting for, but it's what's coming up next week. You have the Elimination Chamber. We can get into what we feel our predictions are going to be for the Elimination Chamber. I think for me, and I'm not saying it because it's biased, I'm not a Goldberg fan, but we all know that Reigns is gonna retain over Goldberg. We see that happening. I've heard one of two things to which way that the chamber match for the men's chamber match could actually go, which number one is title versus title, which I think that's kind of the way that they're going to probably end up going. So I do believe that Lesnar ends up winning the chamber match and then going on to face Roman, or you might even have Riddle versus Randy at WrestleMania, which has been a rumor that has been thrown out there too. For the women's chamber match, that's kind of where I'm torn, because I'm right at the point now to where maybe Liv, but I'm also thinking, because Alexa Bliss was just thrown in this match, I'm thinking maybe somehow Alexa Bliss actually gets this win and goes on to Mania. I could potentially see that happening too. But those are like the main matches that I really, really wanted to touch on. But Big B, what is your predictions for the Elimination Chamber?
Man, I don't know. I mean, you think you got to figure it out, and then poof, they switch it on you. I'm with you, Ace. I mean, I know, I give you crap about Goldberg, and I don't think he's winning. I don't think Roman Reigns is winning. I'm hoping it's not a title for title match at Mania with Brock and Roman. I kind of wish they would start doing some new faces getting the title. Not saying Riddle, but maybe Austin Theory. Maybe KO. Maybe Seth.
Austin Theory.
Yeah, why
Austin
not?
Theory.
Why not?
Did
Why
you
not?
not
It's
see what
Vince's
happened
boy.
to him last night? He
Oh yeah.
went to Suplex City
But again, look at that.
by the
Back in
Viking.
okay, But again, back in the olden days, if you get beat up like that, you're typically going to win your next match. So
Oh, he ain't winning against Brock. I have a
no,
better chance
I
against
don't know,
Brock.
but I just I don't know I don't know which way they're going into the chamber. I mean,
That I get.
Ace, you said it. The rumor, Randy versus Riddle for the title has been a hot one. WWE changes so much for the women. I'm kind of open up to anybody. I think anybody, from Liv to Doudrop to Nikki Cross or Nikki Ash, Rhea. I think anybody I'd be happy with walking out elimination chamber the winner. So
All right. Will?
All right, so I'm going to kind of give you the layout of what I think happens. I think Brock somehow enters the elimination chamber first instead of last, and I think he survives for a while, but eventually all 6 competitors are in the ring, and they all decide we need to take out Brock. So I think they're going to spend some time focused on taking out Brock. I think they're going to showcase Brock that he's going to throw all 6 of them around for a little while with some suplexes and all that stuff. But eventually, I think somebody's going to get some sort of roll up or something like that on him or whatever may happen. But either way, they're going to beat him down really good. I think AJ will be the last one. I think AJ will be the champion. And I think ultimately that will lead to AJ versus Edge at WrestleMania for that title, because I still think you're going to see a last title run by Edge at some point, and it's probably going to happen at WrestleMania. I think, you put it on AJ, then you have him battle Edge. Edge takes it. You can always have AJ chase him. You can always have AJ go back and take it back from him at some point. But, I think Edge deserves his last title run, and I do think he'll get it. Edge is really a hot commodity. I mean, he's huge. He's getting a huge pop with the fans. He's over. His merchandise is selling. I mean, he's a big deal. So I definitely see that happening. And then as far as the women, I just don't see anything other than Liv Morgan going to WrestleMania, because the buildup is so huge for that you've got the fans primed to want to see Liv take a belt. And I think that's going to happen. I think you'll have Liv, how she wins it, how she does it, I don't know. But I think you'll definitely have Liv take it from Becky, even for a short time. I think she'll take it. I would personally like to see Doudrop, because I would really like to see them turn her into a monster heel. And, you still have time between now and WrestleMania to turn her into a heel and do some really dastardly things to these other girls. And, but I just don't think the creative is there. I don't think they're thinking from the wrestling fan perspective. And that's the sad part. It's because I can sit here and write a WrestleMania match card that people would absolutely love, and it would be an excellent WrestleMania. Maybe not the greatest of all time, but it would be an excellent WrestleMania for what we have, to work with. But I don't see it. I think it's going to be Liv, because that's the push, and we'll go from there.
And then obviously you have Roman beating Goldberg.
I don't know.
Ooh.
Because, and here's why, back at WrestleMania 36, it was supposed to be Lesnar, Reigns, and Goldberg in that triangle match, and they never got to have it. And I think it's kind of an ace up the sleeve. No play on words there with you. But I think it's kind of an ace up the sleeve, seriously, where they never got to have that match. I think they had that match totally worked out, written out, and I think there's a good possibility. If I was to bet money right now, if I was to bet cash, I would bet that somehow Goldberg comes out of Saudi Arabia as the Universal Champion, and he goes into WrestleMania as Universal Champion, and you still see that triangle match between Reigns, Goldberg, and Lesnar.
That's not a bad. Well, I might have to add money to that bet, because I now that you bring it up, I kind of can see that happening. I'd rather see that than a title versus title.
Did you know that Florida doesn't have sports gambling unless you're in a casino?
Minnesota don't have sport gambling at all.
Because I was trying to bet on the Super Bowl, and they were like, "I'm sorry, you live in Florida, you can't."
Oh yeah,
weird.
we get that too. Yeah,
Just throwing that out there for you.
Oh yeah, Minnesota has
Well-
never game win either. So
Well, I don't believe that Goldberg's winning. So there you go. My plan words. I do not believe it. Not gonna happen. And Jemias asking, are the rumors true that Cody and Brandy are gone? Yeah, well, that's
I didn't
Cody
get to
Rhodes.
say my thoughts on that, but
Cody Rhodes is saying yes though too.
See, that's how I get my money back from Will, since he took all my money tonight. I've taken that by taking that bet. Told you it was going to happen.
Well,
See,
all right.
we just wrote a WrestleMania storyline there.
So
You didn't ask
Joe,
my predictions,
yeah.
man. I have been right with the Rumble already. I have been right with
you got lucky.
the other situation. I'm on a little roll here, man. So this is how this is all going to play out. Lesnar is going to freaking spear the hell out of Riddle and throw him through one of those damn plexiglasses. I swear to God, he better. Oh my God! As much as Will would love to see Vader powerbomb Disco Inferno 20,000 times,
That's right.
I want to see Lesnar take Riddle and run him through every one of those plexiglasses
Do it.
all
Do
the
it for
way
the
around
Dragon
there.
Viper. Do it for the
Oh
Dragon
my
Viper.
God!
No, come on,
and
Dragon
then,
Viper loves
and
him.
then throw him on top of that pod cell and F5 him straight off of there, right through the mat. Undertaker fire come out. Holy shit. That is Elimination Chamber right there. Can
That's
we
what I'm
talk
talking.
about Elimination Chamber being in Saudi Arabia of all places? Come on now.
No kidding.
So that is perfect. That is the best way the WWE can even remotely make this premium live event. Very good. I will. That would be money right there.
My boy, the Beast, he's gonna win.
Seriously though,
God, I love the Beast now.
I do, man. That's awesome. I love that Viking Beast. That little. Oh, I can't wait to get a new
that
figure of him.
cowboy.
They're making.
Hat,
They're redistributing the Ultimate Edition Brock Lesnar, so all these scalpers can lower the prices a little bit, and then we're going to get a Viking Beast action figure down the road. Oh man, woo! No. WWE is so crazy right now, guys. Honestly, we don't know. I mean, every time we think that they're going to do something, they throw something completely off, backwards on us. So if we go by everything that's been told, yeah, we got Riddle and Orton at WrestleMania for the title, things like that, or title for title. Only thing I'm worried about title for title is what do we do with it? Do we just unify them both together and destroy this whole entire brand draft? Because it seems
how
like
many
this
times have they
draft,
done that?
They've been running
exactly.
titles for 20 years now.
Right, and this
2003.
draft brand doesn't work anymore because one week you got Big E on Raw as the Universal
Yep.
Champion. He loses
Well-
the title. Now he's back in SmackDown, a part of New Day. Which, by the way, Vince says can't call them New Day now. So now you call them Big E and Kofi,
Well,
things
here's my
like that.
thinking.
So I mean, what do we get here, guys? I think I want Liv to win. I'm like Will. I want Liv to win, but I think they're going to go with Bianca. And I think Goldberg does win, but I don't think he wins the title. I think that Brock somehow screws Roman because Roman screwed Lesnar at the Royal Rumble type thing. So Goldberg, because he right now, don't forget, he's on that, unless he signed a contract between now and Saturday. Saturday's his last match on his deal. But WWE obviously doesn't want Goldberg to go anywhere, so I'm sure that Goldberg's going to get a new contract again. So, what?
I think that's how, now that you said that, Joe, I think that's how Goldberg wins. He's going to win the title because Roman's going to Brock's going to screw Roman, and that's how he's going to get the title.
Lesnar still gets his title match no matter what.
And that's how we're going to get the three-way. I think you guys need to start writing for WWE.
Because how do you, as much as I like Lesnar and I think Roman is one heck of a champion right now.
Yep, I agree.
How many times can we continue to keep seeing Roman and Lesnar go at it? We finally got the Paul Heyman swerve, like
they're the money
talked
makers.
about. Yeah, and that's what we've been talking about, guys. Honestly, it's like they're the money makers. But
yeah, I think that
you still got to put butts in the seats, man. They say they're going to sell out that stadium. A couple years ago when they were at WrestleMania, they said there was 101,000 fans, and we know how WWE likes to fixate the numbers, and it was only 90-some thousand fans there.
Yeah,
they're going to be lucky to even get 90,000 each night right now.
But they'll say they have 150 there.
Oh yeah, they'll have 150 this year because they
So
had 101 10 years ago, or
here's my
whatever.
thinking on that title versus title, like you're saying. What can it get you? Here's my thinking, and you know what? If I'm wrong, that's cool. But I'm saying this is how I think it could happen. Let's say that Roman and Brock is not the main event at Mania. It's a earlier match, but whoever would take on Brock Lesnar later that night, that could end up being the main event. So Brock beats Roman to get both titles, and then later on, Brock faces somebody else, and Brock drops the title later on to like a Seth Rollins or Kevin Owens or somebody. So you could potentially see that though too. Roman and Brock go sooner. Brock wins, and then Brock has another match later to where maybe Roman gets involved in that match or something happens along the lines, and then Brock loses to whoever he's facing on that night.
We need to get Smooth back on here and have him figure this whole entire thing out for us.
Right.
You can't ask Smooth about Roman, man. That's his first.
But so one final question before we call it show here, but because I think people want to know how many of you are actually giving Lita a chance at winning this match?
None, because Lita already said that WWE has nothing planned for her after Elimination Chamber.
There you go.
Oh,
which
really?
I don't think. I think they do, but it's not the title.
Yeah, they could have her going up against somebody, but
I think she goes up against Bayley.
Can I make 2 points before we go into wrap up?
Mm-hmm.
No, number one, 3 points. Number one, I don't see Lita doing very much. They needed her there to keep the women's league kind of spiced up or division spiced up, but I don't think that's going anywhere after that. The next thing is I didn't see either one of you guys in my sale tonight, and I had a hell of a sale, and I really look forward to the day when you guys get back in there because, man, I had some fire items tonight, guys. And then
you want me to get divorced? I mean, Jesus.
You don't got to buy.
My wife walked in here and she said, "Oh God."
I'm gonna check it out. Number 3, though, I got a third point. Third point, you guys, it's been announced on our group page and it's been announced here. You guys were a little privy to some information before we announced it, so just wanted to throw that shot in there before we wrap up. That our guest for Squared Circle Expo in Indianapolis, Indiana, is none other than formerly known as John Morrison. So that is a humongous win for us. That is a huge talent. And we've got a lot of people, without it even being announced through their page yet, have already reached out to us. I will tell you that pre-orders and mail-ins will be extremely limited on what we can do because we're all traveling from all over, different parts of the country to get to Indianapolis. So we're not going to have a whole lot of space. So there's going to be a very limited, I can't say it out loud in front of everybody here, but I'll tell you guys later. And anybody that PMs me, I'll let you guys know as well how many, pre-orders or mail-ins we'll be able to do, but it's very limited. So if you guys need something done, need something signed, if you have a figure, a picture, or a book, or, a toy, or anything you got, reach out to me. This guy is a top talent. He was extremely hard to get, and we're having to fly him in from Los Angeles. So it's a really big deal. So if you need something done, please reach out to me. Just wanted to throw those plugs in there real quick before we wrap.
Well, I tell you, buddy, you got a really good deal out of that because you got Johnny Nitro, Johnny Mundo, you got Johnny Impact. Yep. I mean, you got a guy that has been everywhere and has every name in the history books of wrestling. Absolutely. But this guy is a phenomenal superstar that is going to definitely bounce back and be on one of these major shows again.
Right.
Johnny Elite.
Definitely to finish it up. Yes, I will be back once my move is complete. I'm still in the process of moving, so
I gotcha.
So I will be back once it's complete. So
we got to build your man cave up.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So Big B, your final thoughts.
Keep checking us out. Penciled in for next week. I did reach out to Thunderblood Charlie Norris. He's going to try to be on next week, so that one. And then keep checking us out. Monday or Tuesday, March 1st, we have a special guest on for a special edition of On Deck. So check that out. And just keep checking us out. Check out Chop Rope Collectibles. Go there, spend money, and get some awesome action figures. It's hard for me. I'm telling you, it's hard for me not to do it. So, with that being said, just keep checking us out. Thank you guys.
Yeah, and then of course tomorrow night on Sports Minute, don't forget that we have a special guest tomorrow.
Oh yes,
he is a hockey referee. Actually, his name is Scotty Lehman. So you can actually check him out tomorrow night. Will, any final thoughts for you?
Just same thoughts I have every week, guys. You can't not go through your final thoughts and not send out a thank you to people like Crispy Bacon, who works his butt off behind the scenes, really takes care of us, helps us out. So thank you, Chris, man. I appreciate you. I always try to make sure I mention you in my final wrap. Huge shout out to my buddy Dragon Viper. He's been kind of on the quiet side, man. Miss you, Dragon Viper. I love to hear you tell people that you didn't care for it. You and I both know you didn't care for it. And when you didn't care for it, I didn't care for it either, Dragon Viper. So hope to see you really soon, buddy. Hope everything's going well for you. Huge thank you to you guys. Always, appreciate the hell out of you. We have some great times and some great conversations. And, huge shout out to Top Rope Collectibles, because if it wasn't for them, man, I don't know where I'd be or what I'd be doing. But, these guys are always coming through. And, being a part of Top Rope Collectibles isn't just being a part of another Facebook group. We treat everybody there like they're our friends, and we are friends. We're buddies. We talk on a regular basis. I talk to 18 to 25 people a day from the group, just randomly. People messaging me, asking me questions, and so huge shout out to all those folks. Definitely come check us out. Ben and I just started the Tag Team Champs Wrestling Collectibles page about a month ago. It's really taken off. It's really taken off. We're growing. Our brand, our image is growing, and we're extremely well respected. We do a lot for our folks, and I just can't say enough for our people, man. I thoroughly and truly appreciate our people and our admins. I have the best admin team in the friggin' world, man, and I'm getting ready to grow it. I'm getting ready to add another admin to it. So huge shout out to those guys. Huge shout out to you guys, Big B. Love it when you're on here, man. It just doesn't flow right when me and you aren't on here together, So
yeah, no, I get it.
Ace, glad to see you back, man, and hope you get moved really, really soon and get back into my lives and check out some stuff. Like I said, y'all don't have to buy nothing, man. Just come hang out. So, me and one of my other admins, Donnie, we got a big convention this weekend, so we'll have a lot of new product next week. So, really looking forward to that. Huge shout out, thank you. That's all I got.
All right. Well, yeah, and definitely, TRC is like family to Coast. So, we definitely appreciate TRC. They're technically partners of Coast to Coast. So,
Yeah.
Joe, any final thoughts?
No,
one more thing.
I am sick and tired of having to follow up after this guy.
Hold on, one more thing. One more thing, Joe. Mess Around. I forgot to mention Mess Around. That dude is friggin' hilarious. Do you guys ever check out all the memes he posts on Facebook? If you're not friends with Dave Mess Around, you're making a mistake, because that dude is friggin' hilarious and funny as shit. And every time I hear his name, I think about Ray Charles' song doing the Mess Around. So that should be his introduction theme. So if you're not friends with him, friend request, there's gonna be like 500,000 friend requests to Dave Mess Around now. He's gonna be like, what the hell's going on around here? His brand, his image just grew, but I'm giving my endorsement to Dave Mess Around. That dude is funny as shit. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No, I'm done now. I'm following this guy every freaking week, man. This is bullshit. Hate this podcast. Don't go to TRC anymore, guys. Don't do that. God dang, man, son of a biscuit. No, guys, I love you guys. This is fun. Again, Will, thank you for bringing Smooth on here today, man. That was
huge.
awesome,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
But no, thank you guys. I got to relive my weekend this past weekend. Had a couple brewskis, as you guys can see in the chat room. I couldn't talk straight. That's because I was in Chronic Land, man. I was in some OG California love and Super Bowl.
He was trying to explain to us how the playoffs work.
I told you guys how the playoffs work. I will explain it to you sober. Two best teams out of 32, man. And no, guys, honestly, love you guys. Crispy B, honestly, you are the best. You are the one that makes this thing run smooth for us. Will is knowledge. I just follow through and fill in the blank spots for him and have to correct him a little bit. So that's what my enjoyment is, since I got to follow him out every night on this show or every week. But nope, that's it, guys. Follow TRC. Like Will says, he's got some good sales. He had a great sale tonight. I'm sure they're going to do another one this week. They're talking about maybe Sunday or another pop-up one during the week.
Yeah.
And catch Coast to Coast. They always got good stuff every week. And I think if Ace is on this week, I might jump in on that Thursday night and see if we can't get Isaiah to be the new superhuman and run into a refrigerator.
I will be on. I will be on this week, Joe. So you got to be on there.
Yes, we got to get him to start doing stupid stuff like superhuman.
Absolutely. All right. So we do want to thank everybody for watching. You can catch us next week for another episode of Tuesday Night Mania.
Congratulations on Rodgers on his 4 MVP too.
So with that, everybody have a fantastic night, and we will see you guys later.